Pat Tate's story is a gripping tale of violence, drug trafficking, and murder that still captivates years after the infamous Rettendon murders, where Tate and his Essex Boys gang were found shot dead in a Range Rover. Who was Pat Tate, and what drove him into a life of crime? Seen by one of his victims as a ruthless bully who got what he deserved, Tate's fate was tightly bound to his fellow Essex Boys, all meeting a brutal end on a cold, isolated country lane. Welcome to Crime Pulse. If you're new, smash that subscribe button and join our community diving deep into the UK's darkest criminal underworlds. Like, share, and turn on notifications to stay locked into every case. Pat Tate lived a life steeped in violence, meeting a brutal end that shocked the nation. But how did this menacing figure become a key player in the Essex Boys, the notorious drug gang that ruled Essex's drug trade? The answer lies in the booming UK drug scene of the era. Born on August 7, 1958, in Rochford, Essex, Patrick Tate was a natural-born enforcer. By the time of his death at 37, he used his sheer size and raw power to dominate anyone who crossed him. Tate's rap sheet was long and grim, packed with convictions for drug crimes and armed robbery. His most infamous stunt: a daring escape from Billericay Courthouse on December 30th, 1988. At 30, facing charges of robbery and cocaine possession, Tate overpowered 3 police officers in a chaotic breakout. He left one WPC with a black eye and another officer reeling from a kick to the face as he charged toward a waiting motorcycle driven by an accomplice. Inside the courtroom, witnesses reportedly hindered police efforts to stop him. Despite roadblocks, Tate, covered in tattoos, dressed in a fawn top, light blue jeans, and a green sweatshirt, slipped away. He fled to Spain, but was soon dragged back after a misstep in Gibraltar. Sentenced to 7 years, Tate spent his prison time bulking up through bodybuilding while spiraling deeper into drug use. According to Bernard O'Mahony, a former Canning Town firm member, Tate's drug addiction was a driving force. Tate was hooked, big time, O'Mahony claimed. Out on parole, Tate's life took another dark turn when a hitman smashed a brick through his bathroom window and shot him in the arm. Rushed to hospital, staff found drugs and a handgun stashed under his pillow. His parole was revoked, and back to prison he went. One suspect, Stephen Ellis, was questioned over the attack, but vanished to the West Country under a new identity, reportedly wearing body armor to fend off revenge hits. While Pat Tate was locked up, his mate Tony Tucker kept his second-hand car business ticking over. When Tate walked free, Tucker handed him a role in his shady operation, a full-blown drugs franchise. Tate, always ready for action, jumped right in. By then, Tate had a 2-year-old son, Jack, with his girlfriend Sarah Saunders, who endured brutal violence at his hands. Police were well aware of Tate's domestic abuse, and the couple split soon after his release. Bernard O'Mahony, a former Canning Town firm member, put it bluntly: take a look at Tate's life. Out of prison after 6 or 7 years, and within 5 months, he's shot. 6 weeks later, shot dead. 6 months free, and he's taken 2 bullets. I'm 60, and I've never been hit once. Pat Tate's own mother called him a ticking time bomb, constantly wired on drugs that fueled his paranoia and erratic behavior. The night before his gruesome murder in Rettendon, Tate made a call to the London Pizza Company in Basildon. He barked orders for a custom pizza, demanding 4 different toppings on each quarter. The manager, 21-year-old Roger Ryle, already swamped and irritated by Tate's attitude, hung up on him. Big mistake. Minutes later, Tate stormed into the shop. Furious, he ripped the till off the counter, smashed it against the wall, then laid into Ryle with a brutal punch before slamming his head into a glass plate by the bathroom sink. Like many of Tate's victims, Ryle refused to press charges. One associate chillingly described Tate's presence. A room would go dark when he walked in. Tate's ex-girlfriend, Lizzie Fletcher, later gave statements about his behavior that final evening, shedding light on his actions and mindset in the hours before his violent end. On the morning of December 7th, 1995, Ken Jiggins and his friend, Farmer Peter Theobald, stumbled across a metallic blue Range Rover parked by a locked gate on Workhouse Lane in the quiet village of Rettendon, Essex. At first, they thought the men inside might be poachers catching a nap. But as they got closer, the grim truth hit. 2 men in the front were dead. While Jiggins called the police, Theobald peered inside and spotted a third body slumped in the back. By 8:30 a.m., Detective Superintendent Ivan Dibley got the call. A triple murder had gone down. A 40-strong police squad swarmed the icy crime scene, a known lover's lane, that cold winter morning. The victims were the notorious Essex Boys. In the passenger seat was Tony Tucker, Pat Tate's 38-year-old partner in crime, his face obliterated by a shotgun blast. Behind the wheel was 26-year-old Craig Rolfe, the third member of the crew, with a gaping hole in his head from a shotgun round, his foot still frozen on the brake pedal. In the back, Pat Tate's head was blown through the rear window, hit by one shot to the stomach and another to the skull. It was a cold-blooded hit, executed with ruthless precision. Detectives scrambled to figure out if the killer was inside the Range Rover with the trio or ambushed them from outside, unloading before they could react. Superintendent Dibley didn't mince words. This isn't your average murder. It looks like they were lured there. It doesn't get more serious than this. The gunman fired 8 rounds, leaving spent shells scattered, likely too dark to pick them up. 3 shots took out Rolfe and Tucker in rapid succession. Tate, caught off guard, took a round to the gut. The killer reloaded, then pumped 2 more into Tate's head, finishing with an extra shot each into the already dead Rolfe and Tucker. Investigators pegged Tate as the main target, with Rolfe and Tucker caught in the crossfire. A post-mortem revealed Tate's blood was a cocktail of cocaine, heroin, cannabis, and steroids. Police began hunting for clues to why these small-time crooks were lured to a late-night meeting, only to be blasted into oblivion. Cops quickly uncovered a long list of reasons why the Essex Boys, Pat Tate, Tony Tucker, and Craig Rolfe had enemies gunning for them. Tate, in particular, was a walking nightmare, his brutal temper and ruthless violence making him a hated figure. Bernard O'Mahony, a former Canning Town firm member, saw the writing on the wall. Anyone who knew them could see it coming. I clocked it early and steered clear. Wasn't tough to do. In the years and months before the Rettendon bloodbath, several incidents stacked up as potential triggers for their brutal end. Tate and the Essex Boys were linked to the death of 28-year-old Kevin Whitaker, who died of a supposed drug overdose in November 1994. Word was Whitaker was killed over a drug debt. Tate's own mother, Marie, claimed her son spilled the beans while recovering in hospital from a shooting, saying Tucker and Rolfe injected Whitaker with a lethal dose. His body was found dumped by a roadside on November 17, 1994, 30 hours after he vanished. Marie swore her son was innocent, insisting Whitaker's pals took revenge by wiping out Tate and his crew. Detectives, though, ruled out any link to the Workhouse Lane slaughter. Another dark cloud over the Essex Boys was the tragic death of 18-year-old Leah Betts, a schoolgirl from Latchington, Essex. On November 11, 1995, just a month before the Rettendon murders, she slipped into a coma after taking an ecstasy tablet at Raquel's Club in Basildon and chugging roughly 7 liters of water in 90 minutes. 5 days later, her life support was cut off. Her death became a media firestorm, spotlighting the dangers of ecstasy flooding Essex nightclubs. Essex police launched a massive £300,000 probe to track down the pill's suppliers, zeroing in on Raquel's Club. 4 of Leah's friends at the house that night were arrested. Rumors swirled that Tucker and Tate's gang ran the ecstasy trade at the club, sparking theories that the Rettendon murders were payback for Leah's death. In May 1996, a major breakthrough rocked the Rettendon murders case. A police and customs drug bust nabbed 3 men, 52-year-old Michael Steele, 33-year-old Jack Holmes, and a third suspect, all pinched for smuggling drugs. Soon, the trio was tied to the brutal slayings of Pat Tate, Tony Tucker, and Craig Rolfe. Facing murder charges, one of the men, Darren Nichols, cracked under pressure and spilled the beans on his role in the killings. Nichols said he first crossed paths with Steele, Holmes, and Tate years earlier, while doing time for peddling fake cash at Hollesley Bay Prison in Suffolk. After his release, he linked up with Steele's slick drug smuggling crew, running shipments out of Amsterdam. Michael Steele was a big-time Essex drug runner, and in November 1995, he handed Tate, Tucker, and Rolfe a batch of cannabis worth £350,000 on the street. That deal turned out to be the spark for the Rettendon bloodbath. The drugs were subpar, and Steele agreed to take them back and refund £70,000. The cash was paid, but Tate swore he never got it and refused to return a third of the stash. When Steele pushed back, Tate went ballistic, forcing him to beg on his knees and threatening to put a bullet in him. Tate bragged he'd wipe out the smuggler for crossing him, but Steele, who'd gotten close to Tate's ex-girlfriend and learned of the threats, decided to strike first. 6 weeks before the Rettendon massacre, Michael Steele reached out to Darren Nichols, demanding he score a gun. Soon after, Pat Tate, Tony Tucker, and Craig Rolfe were lured to a farmer's field on Workhouse Lane, supposedly to scope out a landing spot for a drug smuggling plane. Nichols later spilled the details to the cops. As Rolfe's Range Rover rolled up to the locked gate, Steele hopped out, pretending to open it. That's when Jack Holmes, Steele's loyal enforcer, leaned in with a pump-action shotgun and unleashed hell on the three men inside. Minutes later, Holmes rang Nichols, telling him to swoop in for a pickup. When Steele and Holmes climbed into Nichols's car, their clothes were splattered with blood. Nichols knew exactly what went down. Steele, cold as ice, muttered, "They won't mess with us again." After Pat Tate was gunned down alongside his Essex Boys crew, Tony Tucker and Craig Rolfe, his family pulled out all the stops for his funeral. In January 1997, a flower-draped, horse-drawn carriage carried his coffin to the steps of Pitsea Church, where the vicar stood ready for the service. Cops managed traffic as a bell tolled for the 25-minute ceremony, where Tate's brother delivered a heartfelt tribute. A floral arrangement bore a simple message: Daddy. Another card read, "Thanks for the good times. I'll never forget you, your baby son Jordan." About 60 mourners, close family and friends, sang All Things Bright and Beautiful, and recited the 23rd Psalm, "The Lord is my shepherd." Tate's headstone, as flashy as his funeral, features his photo and reads, "Treasured memories of Pat Terrence Tate, who departed this life on December 6, 1995, age 37. Loving father, loyal friend and brother, missing your smiles and generous heart. Your presence will never leave us. Now you walk with the angels, looking down from God's great kingdom. Until we meet again, God bless, we will never forget you." At the base, two white doves comfort each other, and the back of the memorial reads, "God found the path was growing rough, the hill too steep to climb, so he closed your eyelids and whispered, 'Peace be thine.'" Tate's funeral was a grand spectacle, perfectly suited for a man who lived and died as a larger-than-life gangster. Darren Nichols revealed that Michael Steele, after the Rettendon murders, called himself an angel of death, believing he'd done the world a favor by wiping out Pat Tate, Tony Tucker, and Craig Rolfe. "Deep down, I think I always knew they were going to do it," Nichols admitted. Turning supergrass, Nichols ratted out his former allies, leading to Michael Steele and Jack Holmes facing trial in late 1997. Charged with murder, Nichols claimed he had no choice but to spill everything to the cops and point the finger at his old crew. The trial dragged on for 4.5 months, racking up a bill north of £1 million. Holmes and Steele's defense team tore into Nichols, accusing him of spinning a web of lies. On January 20th, 1998, the jury huddled up for 4.5 days to decide their fate. After 4.5 days of deliberation, the jury delivered guilty verdicts for Michael Steele and Jack Holmes. Mobile phone records, backing up Darren Nichols' testimony, sealed their fate, though questions about their reliability lingered post-trial. Steele and Holmes were slammed with triple life sentences for the murders of Pat Tate, Tony Tucker, and Craig Rolfe. Nichols, the turncoat, was whisked into the witness protection program with new identities for him and his family. The bloody saga of Tate, his boss Tucker, and fellow Essex boy Rolfe has fueled a slew of films, immortalizing their reign as ruthless players in Essex's drug-fueled criminal underworld. Thanks for diving into the dark world of Pat Tate and the Essex Boys with Crime Pulse. If you're hooked on unraveling the UK's most notorious criminal sagas, smash that subscribe button, give us a like, and hit the bell to never miss a case. Join our growing community and share your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep peeling back the layers of the underworld together.